Hello, I'm Paul.
I'm Adam.
And I'm Ben.
And welcome to the Film Busters podcast. The film show with no filters, no prisoners taken, loads of disagreements, but one hell of a love for cinema.
If you want to hear three friends ridiculing each other for an hour or so regarding their taste in films, then you have come to the right place.
In each episode, one of the team picks a film for us to discuss. It could be anything from a recent cinema release to an all-time classic.
So, strap in and get ready to get mad or get vindicated as we guide you through the murky world of being a film geek.
If you like what you hear, you can also find us on Twitter and Instagram using @FilmbustersPod. You can also find each of our individual accounts. I'm at Filmbusters Paul.
I'm at Filmbusters Adam.
And I'm at Filmbusters Ben.
If you want to use your eyes instead of your ears, you can also visit the website at filmbusterspod.co.uk.
And if busting makes you feel good, you can also support us at patreon.com/filmbusters for exclusive content.
Or shoot over and get some groovy merchandise at society6.com/filmbusters.
Alright, can we just get on with this now, please?
Just a quick little note before we get into this podcast. I'd like to apologise to all of you, and especially to my my dear friend Paul, who has the job of editing this. My audio in this podcast isn't the best. My laptop went into overdrive, and the fan was blowing into the mic for some reason. I think it's because we recorded the Patreon video just before we did this podcast, so my laptop might have been too excited about that. It was the first time we have been on video in a very long time, so you can get over to the website and check that out. But yes, I do apologise to everybody, and especially to Paul.
Hello everyone, this is a very special episode. We have our patron Jamie Russell here.
It's the Film Buster.
He's straight in there.
Paul, you came with such heightened energy straight away. No wasting time. You introduced our guest immediately.
Whoa, I love the energy. I'm excited that Jamie's here. What's wrong with that?
We're going to release him halfway through the podcast.
I know. We were going to keep it very secret and under wraps that Jamie was with us. Jamie, how are you feeling? Good to have you here, man.
I'm feeling. This is an absolute honour and privilege, gents. I'm feeling energised.
Amazing.
That's good. That's good to hear. Considering it's a Friday afternoon, I feel the same. We've already got our beers on, listeners. We already cracked the beer. We're easing into the weekend, and what better way? Jamie, for those who obviously can't see the video, we're all on video at the moment. Jamie is actually rocking the Film Busters Christmas merch that Paul designed. That is dedication.
What a legend.
It's not Christmas anymore, but who cares?
I wear it all year round, Jamie.
When Paul was sitting on the toilet designing that, doing his shit, and now Jamie's now wearing it on the podcast.
How very crass of you, Adam.
Still very crass.
I'm just going for the facts.
Even when we have guests on, you're behaving very churlish. This is not the way to conduct yourself. This is a good time to probably just up front plug becoming a patron, because you get such wonderful perks as coming onto our podcast. And
you want to be Jamie.
If you want to be Jamie.
Want to be on the bar.
Who wouldn't want to be Jamie? He's got it all.
Wouldn't.
He's got the merch. He can be on the show. He can host the quiz on the show as well. Look at this.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I'm living the life.
I haven't even done that yet.
I know, right?
I've only asked one question before.
Jamie, for all of our listeners, tell us a little bit about your background in film, where your love of film comes from, what you do.
Why you like us.
Why you like us.
Okay.
You don't have to say why you like us.
Well, this might end up being a bit of a long-winded story, but I'll have to explain to you guys that I lived for nearly 2 decades in a very remote Scottish island called Orkney, and in this, I was probably 8 or 9 years old. I was introduced to Star Wars, and that just blew my mind. I knew I was going to be a film fan from then on.
Okay.
But it wasn't really until I got into secondary school, and I remember every Saturday I'd travel into the main capital in Orkney, right, Kirkwall, and it's a tiny place, but at the time it was massive for me, and they only had one video shop.
Wow.
Okay, and I mean video. This is VHS.
VHS.
Old school.
I'm a bit older than you guys.
Adam wouldn't know, but we'd understand.
Yes, we understand. I remember VHS.
VHS. So, but unfortunately, because this place had a monopoly on video rental, I was never able to rent anything out of there that I really wanted. You know, as a young teenager, you know, you're attracted to the forbidden fruit. You know, you want the horror films, you want the action films. You know, and this is the sort of late 80s. So it was Arnie, it was Stallone, it was Van Damme. I wanted to see all these films. So as soon as I went in to this place, you know, I looked my age as well. In fact, I looked younger than my age. So I would always try desperately to get these horror films out, and every time I was declined. Every time. But the desire, the urge was still there. Okay, so I waited. I bided my time, and then a year or two later, a new competing video store opened up.
Wow.
Right. Now this was run by someone who had just come out of a school. I think I knew him vaguely from school, sort of friend of a friend sort of thing, and he was the competition for this place, and he knew exactly what he had to do. He needed to appeal to the young fans like me. Right. So I went in. I saw all these films. I was desperate to watch, and he said, so long as I had sort of the sort of parental, you know, consent, you know, he was okay with it. So I had my mum outside the store. I said, "Come in, mum. Can I rent this film out, please? Yes, it's an 18. I know I'm just a teenager, but please, mum." And she just thought this wasn't a battle worth fighting, so she agreed to it, of course. So from then on, that was me.
Amazing.
Every weekend, I go in and pillage that place. So that's really sort of started my fascination in film, and it went right into school as well. I'll never forget. This is Scotland, so this is sort of the equivalent of A-levels. I did a presentation, and it was a film-based presentation, and I brought in all these horror films because I was doing this evolution of horror sort of presentation, and I don't know how I got away with it because I was showing films like The Exorcist.
Fantastic!
I showed a section for The Exorcist when it was still banned.
Yeah, it would have been, right?
Yeah, it was banned. This was early 90s. So yeah, it was still banned until the late 90s. That's when James Furman, BBC, decided to leave his post, and then everything came available. So I showed the pee vomit scene from The Exorcist. Nothing too extreme.
No, nice and tame.
Yeah.
Pee vomit.
and a sequence of Nightmare on Elm Street and Dawn of the Dead and things like that. And the class loved it, and I
can't imagine why.
I just loved it as well. I still remember the teacher's name, Mr. Taylor. Thank you, Mr. Taylor. And that was me from there. And I went on to university, studied film as a joint film and English course for 4 years, Aberdeen University. And I still remember I met my wife at Aberdeen University, and I always remember her gran saying to me, I'm pretty sure it was to me, she said, "Film studies? Film studies? You can't support a family on film studies."
You proved her wrong.
I showed her she was wrong. So, yeah. And I was lucky enough to... Actually, it was media studies to begin with. I started teaching. It was film studies in disguise. Let's be honest. I chose all the film options, and then I taught that for 3 years, and then I started teaching film studies, obviously with English, but film. It's always been my passion. And to get to you guys, well, can I say that you guys, as far as I'm concerned, are key workers. Okay, all right. Because in this doom and gloom, this third lockdown we are suffering, you bring entertainment, you bring cheer and joy, and I think that's important to remember. I love my film podcasts, I really do, and I was aware of film podcasts, of course, before I got in touch with you guys. But it was very much the professional ones. So it was Empire Podcast and Kermode and Mayo. I enjoyed.
Yeah.
But I was during the first lockdown. I was at a bit of a loss, to be honest, and I thought, well, films. I really need to start watching more films, because I was getting to the stage where I was teaching film studies, and students were saying, "Oh, sir, have you seen this latest film?" I'd be going, "Yeah."
No, exactly.
No.
You got to blag it at first.
Yeah, exactly. Family man, everything. I didn't have the time. So I thought, I'm gonna have to change this. So I joined Letterboxd.
Good move.
Yeah, I started watching some films, putting up some reviews, and that's when, Paul, you got in touch with me. It was a Goodfellas review.
It was.
Yeah,
I remember.
Goodfellas, yeah.
And I responded. I listened to your podcast. I thought, yes, these are my guys. Yeah.
Oh man,
This is what you've been missing.
Yeah.
that's nice to hear, man. Because you don't normally hear the other side of the coin. You hear us rambling around, but we don't know if our ramblings actually reach anyone.
Absolutely,
I'm still
does.
convinced nobody has listened to the end of any of our podcasts.
Yeah.
I'm still convinced people have given up halfway through and they thought, these guys are just chatting shit now.
Trust me, I listened to the bitter end. Absolutely, I think you have to. Okay, because there's always going to be something, right to the very end.
The little gem.
It's normally Ben. He'll normally just go off on some tangent and bring something up.
This is not true, sir.
I think I might need to just explain that 4:00 DM.
What's the 4:00 DM?
What was the for?
Oh, you don't remember? As part of the preparation for this, I was supposed to give a rating for a film that I think
Oh yes,
needs
4:00 in the morning DM. Yeah.
So right, to put a little bit of context into this, I have an autistic daughter. Lovely girl, but my word, she does cause us problems from time to time. She's 8 years old, but every sort of couple of weeks, she'll get up randomly about 1:00 in the morning. She's up. Hey, I want to get up.
Right.
Wow.
And I'm the one who.
You're up with her.
I'm the one who gets up because I can manage on a little less sleep than my wife can. So I always get up, and before these podcasts, it would be like 5 or 6 hours of just grimness, and now I've got hours and hours of podcasts. It's like you got a playlist of podcasts. I put them in, I listen to them, and I was listening to our good friends the Contrarians. It was
yes, we love the Contrarians over here.
It was the Endgame podcast.
Oh yes,
okay,
one of their best.
A brilliant podcast, and they were going at each other, hammer and tong, and real talk, and they referenced you, Ben, didn't they?
They possibly did, because I have quite strong views, as you may know, about such films.
I know. So they referenced you, and then suddenly I just thought, shit, I've forgotten to respond to that question. So straight away, and so this was 4:00 in the morning at this point, after I'd listened to about 3 other podcasts as well, and I thought, right, I'm going to have to DM before I forget. And of course you DM, and then you don't realise it timestamps it.
Yeah.
They're bound to respond.
Hardcore fan.
They must think of an absolute nutter.
Not at all. That's hardcore support. Listeners, for those who don't understand exactly what we're talking about here, you'll find out a little bit later. But Paul, well, go on. You explain, Paul. You can explain better than me what that's about.
So basically, we give anyone who features on one of our episodes, we give them as well as talk about the film we're actually talking about in the episode, we give them the opportunity to rate another film that we have done a podcast on, just to throw our tables up and make them a bit more diverse and give them better scoring. So
yeah. And Jamie sent his to us at aforementioned time, 4 a.m. And you can find out what film he was talking about after we've talked about the main film today. Well, Jamie, that's all actually really fucking fascinating.
That is fascinating.
Because, to be honest, you could ask that question and it could be really dull, but that's like a real film lover's odyssey. We like that. We like that over here. One question before we move into the next section. What was the first 18 or 18 VHS that you can remember renting?
I can remember that exactly. It was The Thing.
Oh,
was that rated 18?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
They've dropped that now. It's 15 now.
No, it's not.
Is it not?
No, it's definitely 18. Oh, that's as 18 as they come.
Come on, let's have a look.
It's definitely 18. It's definitely 18.
What warrants the 18 rating in that?
The gore.
Yeah, the gore, I'd say.
Yeah.
I know, but the gore's wonderful. But
a man's head crawling along the floor.
It's pretty
Terminator
intense.
2 has incredible effects, but I wouldn't say okay. Oh my goodness, yeah.
It's definitely an 18.
Strong violence and gory horror. You want the industry details? No, I'm not going to read all that out. Wow. Okay, 18.
Yeah.
Don't
And
you
funny
question
enough,
the man.
that-
He knows.
I know, he knows his stuff, and he definitely knows his stuff because listeners of friends of the podcast Movie Drone, Jamie actually appeared on Movie Drone earlier this year as well, quite close to the beginning of lockdown, to talk about The Thing. So if you want to hear more of Jamie and our friends Movie Drone, go and check out The Thing episode, which I think was released sort of April of this year. We'll link it in the tweet.
Last
when it
year,
goes
it'll
out.
be.
Last year, yes. Yes.
I mean, time has just been completely warped, hasn't it? I mean,
Yes.
Time is irrelevant.
Yes, it definitely is.
it feels like I know you really well, but it's not even been 12 months, so it's crazy.
It's a beautiful thing. Right, so just to give everyone a bit of context, today we are talking about Jamie's choice. It is Burn After Reading. But before we get to the main event, we have a beautiful staple of every episode, which is the quiz. And guess what? Jamie is the host. He's very excited. I can see him on the camera. He's got a big beaming smile on his face, ready to go. Right, so just so everyone knows, Ben, you're on 3 points. Adam, you're on 4 points. And I'm on 1 point. Yes, I didn't do it in order, Adam.
How has Adam ended up at the top, please?
He always does this. Every year, he gets in front, and then he just can't be bothered to start
gives up.
writing notes.
That's Adam down to a T.
I
Lots of energy
don't
up
want to
front.
host it. I like to answer the questions.
He says that every year. It's an excuse.
Well, Paul, there might just be 6 points available here.
Oh, my God.
6 points?
Yeah.
I think we need to put rules on this. I like my lead.
The host can do whatever they want on this podcast.
Lovely. Okay, so it
I'm going
has
to give
to
out a
be,
million points when I do it.
this has to be pen and paper, gents. Okay, no shouting out. Let's have some discipline here.
Okay. This is a pub quiz, it seems.
Pub quiz, yeah.
It is. Right, okay. Now, question number 1. Frances McDormand plays Linda in Burn After Reading. She is also famously married to a Coen. But which one is it?
Oh.
We're going for 50-50 here, is it?
It is, yeah. And then you need to hold it up. Are we ready? 1, 2, 3.
Can you see that?
I went for Joel.
I went for Ethan.
I went for Ethan.
The answer is Joel.
Oh!
Yes!
We all took a gamble on that one, and
It
it paid
is
off for Adam.
Joel.
I just remembered we didn't even tell the audience what we'd actually written down. We're just showing it.
I said mine out loud.
Do that as well. Yeah,
was Joel
it is Joel. Yes, they met actually just in their very first film. So Blood Simple. She auditioned for that, and yes, went from there.
Well done, Adam.
Okay, so
Adam.
the next question, I'm being a bit cheeky here, okay, because this, again, like the previous question, this is sort of linked to Burn After Reading, but it'll need a little bit more knowledge as well.
That's fine.
Oh, we like a bit of that.
Right, so George Clooney is a regular collaborator with the Coens. Name the 5 films that they have worked on together.
Oh, wow.
5 films.
Okay. So
there's a bit of a twist.
come on. Are you going to reveal what that twist is?
There are 4 films that he stars in.
Oh, one where it's a sort of like uncredited cameo type. Fuck, I can't think of the 4 that he stars in.
I'm just trying to name 4 Coen films at the moment. Everything's gone out of my head.
You're trying to name 4 Clooney films, let alone Coen.
Dun 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 dun. Boom.
Oh, for fuck's sake.
Damn it.
Okay.
Damn it.
Well, yes, I know, that was hard.
Sorry, James. That was a tough one. Right. But this is your opportunity to reveal your answer. So we're going to start with Adam. Let's start with the leader.
I've got Burn After Reading.
Correct. 1
And
point.
Oh Brother, We're Out Now.
Correct. 2
That's
points.
all I've got. That's all
Okay.
I've got.
2 points for Adam.
Good lad.
They're
Okay.
the only 2 that I can think of.
Paul.
I've got Oh Brother, Where Art Thou, Burn After Reading, and I was trying to think of the one where with Catherine Zeta-Jones. Is it called
Yeah.
Rules of Engagement? I can't think of what it's
No,
called.
no. Yes. Is that
That's,
your
that's
last?
all I could think of.
Okay.
I'll jump on that.
Okay,
I'll jump
then.
on that.
Oh, no.
I have
No.
what they have. So I have Oh Brother, Where
You have to
Art
have it
Thou.
written down.
Yeah. I'll show you on screen afterwards. I have Oh Brother, Where Art Thou, Burn
Yeah.
After Reading,
Yeah.
Intolerable Cruelty,
That's the
Yeah.
one.
and this is the guess at the 4th one. I'm not sure. I was trying to think of the Coen film that I haven't seen that he may have been in, and I put Hail Caesar.
Oh, yes.
Is that
Oh,
true?
shit, is that a Coen film?
Yes, it is. It is. Well done.
I never thought that was a Coen film.
Yes, it is.
Well done.
I was getting confused between that and the other one with the Russians. That was Armando Iannucci. I can't remember what it was called.
Stalin, isn't it? Death of Stalin.
The Death of
That's the
Stalin.
one,
Yeah, I thought
yeah.
one of them.
Yeah.
God, it paid off. Look at that.
Well done.
So, yeah, that's his latest one. But the fifth one,
Yes.
right, is a Coen Brothers script that he ended up directing. And that's Suburbicon. Suburbicon.
Okay.
I haven't seen it,
I
but
didn't know that.
yeah. So Coen
Interesting.
Brothers scripted.
That's a nice little twist.
Yeah.
What film is Rules of Engagement? I don't...
Rules of That is Zeta-Jones and someone else, I think.
It is. It is. I have seen it, but I can't remember.
It's a kind of forgettable one, I think. The only thing I remember from Intolerable Cruelty, which is one of the funniest moments in Coen history, the film is not very good, but there's a scene where there's a man in the courtroom and he says something, and he points at someone in the courtroom and he says something to that silly man. And it is the iconic line from the film. It's very funny. It doesn't sound funny when I repeat it, but when you watch the film, it's very good.
So Rules of Engagement is actually part war movie, part courtroom thriller, starring Samuel Jackson and Tommy Lee Jones.
That's the one. That's the one.
That's definitely not that film.
That is not. That's that. Do you know? And look, everything comes full circle. Do you know who directed that film?
Who directed it?
William Friedkin.
Oh my god, he did.
Keeping the Friedkin energy in the family.
There we go.
And in fact, on the latest Contrarians episode, when they do Jade, they specifically talk about Rules of Engagement as well. So there you go. Well, that was very good, Jamie. Where does that leave our scores then?
So the scores at the end: Ben with 7, Adam with 7, and me on 4.
Oh, Adam. It feels good to be tied again. You and I are often tied.
Well, that leads us on nicely to almost the main event. But first of all, we're just going to talk about our lovely patrons. We're going to shout them out. First of all, we have the beautiful Jamie Russell.
I'm eating popcorn, really sorry. Next up, we have the Contrarian. We have Julio from the Contrarians.
Well, I didn't realise we were all saying names. I thought Paul was going to do
We
them all.
always do
next,
this.
Next, okay, well, I wasn't prepared. Next up, we have the very wonderful Nerd Reverts. Thank you very much.
And then we have the beautiful couple, Katie and Oti, from the For Your Reference podcast. If you want to become a patron of our Patreon, you can go to www.patreon.com/filmbusters. Today, at the end of this episode, we'll be doing our monthly roundup of January, where we're talking about all our best films and our one worst film of the month. It's going to be very fun. We've already recorded it. So we know it's fun. You're going to like it.
You're going to love it.
Yeah, and you get to see our beautiful faces.
Yes!
Oh, yeah, of course.
It's
We're
a
all on
video
camera for it.
episode. First video episode we've ever done, apart from Tomb Raider a long time ago. Right, let's go on to the main event.
Osborne Cox.
Yes. Who is this?
Is this Osborne Cox?
Who is this? What time is it? Who are you?
I'm a good Samaritan. I'm sorry I'm calling at such an hour, but I thought you might be worried.
Worried?
About the security of your shit.
Like Bill O'Reilly said, fuck it, we'll do it live. You write it and I'll do it live. Does no one get that reference?
I don't get it.
Well, after this episode, if you go on YouTube and type in Bill O'Reilly rant, Bill O'Reilly is a really right-wing Republican news anchor who on Fox News about 7-8 years ago was trying to read the auto cue to wrap up his show, and the auto cue wasn't moving, and he freaked out. And the big quote that comes out of it is, fuck it, I'll do it live. You write it and I'll fucking do it live. But the video leaked. Everyone knew he was an asshole anyway, but then the video leaked and it was like, okay.
Brilliant.
Sounds great.
That's awesome. That's awesome. You got Bale, you got Cruz, and then you got O'Reilly.
Yeah. I can't help but feel like Cruz's was staged. While I agree with what he was saying, it feels a little too...
Do you think?
It makes him look good. Bales makes him look a bit of a bastard.
I don't know. I think Cruz. You know, he. No, I don't think so. I think
anyway, you and Adam are probably on the same side when it comes to opinions of Cruz.
I don't care for him at all.
I like Cruz.
Oh, okay.
I like Cruz. Yeah, I do. Very underrated in Rain Man. Okay, Dustin Hoffman takes the honours. You know, he's got he's got the showy role. Okay, but Cruz, his character arc from a selfish shit at the beginning to this understanding brother. That's acting.
Yeah, but the thing is with Tom Cruise, he was good back in day, but now he just plays his whole.
I agree. I agree. I think.
Look at me, I can do my own stuff.
I'm more of a fan of older Cruise, but anyway.
I'm more of a fan of Cruise films than Cruise performances. I think the films he's in are good. Rather, like I would never say that his performance really was stunning in anything. Eyes Wide Shut springs to mind. That film is incredible, but his performance is kind of forgettable.
Magnolia.
Now that's an interesting one.
The only person I remember from Magnolia was John C. Reilly.
How can you forget Tom Cruise in that film?
No, Tom Cruise, when he goes and sees his dad, oh my goodness, yeah. I'm thinking about that now.
It's amazing, yeah.
It is amazing. That is amazing, yeah.
And all the frogs.
Of course, Adam would say the frogs.
Yeah.
The frogs is unforgettable.
And the frogs!
That's some Coen Brothers stuff from Fargo.
It is.
It is.
Absolutely.
Right, so just so everyone knows, this is a spoiler episode. We're talking about Burn After Reading. We'll go straight into spoilers, no hanging around. So if you haven't seen the film, you might want to go watch it first, otherwise we will spoil it for you. But first of all, Adam, you know what you got to do? You got to do a really good plot summary.
Okay, I will. So this film is a bit of a... I don't know how to describe it, to be honest. It's a bit of a... you've got some people getting involved in a world where they shouldn't be involved in. They're not prepared for it themselves. You've got people who run this gym. You've got Brad Pitt and Frances McDormand. They run a gym. Well, they work at a gym. What's the guy who runs it? The guy from Step Brothers. What's his name?
I really don't think it matters who runs the gym.
Anyway, they run a gym. Anyway, they find a disc at the gym, and they open the disc, and it's got some information about some CIA bullshit, some government crap. And they think, great, let's return it to the guy, and he'll give us money. And then everything escalates, and until some disastrous consequences happen.
That was straight off the back of the DVD, that was.
That was straight off the back of the DVD that you buy from the dodgy £5 pirate man outside East Croydon Station.
Pirate man, I'm going to give you some DVDs.
Just on that note, many years ago, I I'm not proud of it. I bought a pirate copy of Terminator 3. So we're talking about like 20 plus years ago. I was a teenager. I bought a pirate copy of Terminator 3 from someone at East Croydon Station. And obviously they'd use Google Translate or the equivalent at the time to write the plot summary on the back. And Terminator translated as elephant. So every time they said Terminator in the plot description, it was elephant. It was fantastic. It sounded like a much more interesting film than Rise of the Machines turned out to be.
Fantastic.
Oh, brilliant.
Elephants rule the world.
So normally at this point, before we cut to the us each giving our review, I would give you guys a little bit of a breakdown about the film. But instead of doing that, I just wanted to preface this one to put it into a little bit of context. So I think just from previous episodes, everyone perhaps knows that this is one of Paul's favourite films. I am quite ambivalent towards it, but because it is one of Paul's favourite films, I'm probably more ambivalent towards it than I might otherwise be, because when I see something that one of you guys really loves, then I interrogate it a little more than I might otherwise. And we'd vocalised this on Twitter a little bit, and Jamie inevitably saw the discourse. So when conversations started taking place about getting Jamie on the show, of course this was the film that he picked for us to cover. So it's with all that background that we went into this latest rewatch for each of us to watch Burn After Reading, knowing that we would come together and thrash it out, and we will agree on some things and we will disagree on some things, but I'll be interested to see where everyone stands after the latest rewatch. So with that, we hand over to Jamie to tell us in which order people will give their 60-second review.
Well, I like to start high and then all the way down. So it's Paul to start off with, then Adam, and then Ben, and then me.
Fantastic.
That's telling. That's potentially telling.
We'll see.
He's a very mysterious man, Jamie. He likes to fool you most of the time. We thought we were going to draw a picture in the quiz.
Yes. I'm also really intrigued. Sorry, I must say, I'm very intrigued because I might be wrong, but I kind of assumed before this that, Jamie, you liked this film. I might have been wrong on that, but I assumed you liked it. But something you said recently on Twitter is that you rewatched it and that you had changed your rating, but you won't say in which direction. So I'm very intrigued as to whether that went up or down. Mm-hmm. I have much to say.
You're going to find out very soon, Ben. Right, shall I go?
Yes.
Okay. So, no beating around the bush. I give this film a 10 out of 10. It's at number 13 in my favourite films of all time. That's how much I love this film. That's how much I love this film.
Wow.
I don't normally interject at this point, but I didn't realise it was so
It's that
high.
high. It's that high. I love this film.
Then you better have come for war, mate. You better have brought your armour and bullets, because, my goodness, you're going to have to answer.
Firstly, the humour is right up my street, and no matter what, this film cracks me up every single time I watch it. I love a comedy centred on like dim-witted individuals whose like every word out of their mouths are like they're with conviction. They believe what they're saying and they don't see themselves as stupid. And I love that. I find it really endearing. I enjoy it. It's why I have a huge love for like The Nice Guys and like almost like Edgar Wright films to some capacity. Has also used like that same like outlandish, ridiculous comedy. The humour isn't like necessarily the situation, but more what comes out of their mouths. That's the funny thing, and I enjoy that. Also, as Ben stated before, I love a film with an unexpected segment of extreme violence.
Yes, that's true. You do.
It almost contrasts the feel with the rest of the film, and it's like out of the blue. And I love that. I just really enjoy stuff like that. And this certainly has that. I'll put it out there as well. I think this is George Clooney's best performance. And his comedy timing is like his stuff of legend. I love it so much. I absolutely love when Clooney opts for comedy. He nails like He nails every scene in this film, and every comedy beat is exceptional. And I would say he's probably my favourite part of this film. And secondly, I would say it was Brad Pitt would be my second favourite of the film, although I'd not say it's his best role, because that would probably be Tyler Durden. But once again, every comedy beat he's on point and is perfectly played. And I also love the soundtrack as well. And I think it amplifies the ridiculousness of the whole situation. Like the grand scheme which they think they're doing, which is intentionally dumb, is accompanied by like a big dramatic score that is essentially taking the piss out of what they're doing. It's like just taking the piss out of the situation, which I think is great and it's funny. And for anyone saying that it has no plot or it's just pointless, but by its blunt ending as well, the idea of the whole film is that it's meant to be pointless. It's not trying to be anything else. It's about intelligence. It's about intelligence in every sense of the word, or even better put, the lack thereof. Intelligence. And there are no weak players in this film. It's a piece of perfection for me, and the Coen's greatest film. Yes, Ben, the Coen's greatest film in my opinion, and it's a 10 out of 10. That's what I have to say about this film.
Well, I'm not getting into my bit yet, but just to say, I disagree with you on almost every single point, and I have notes here that disagree directly with what you said, so I can't wait for this conversation.
Okay. Is it my turn now?
It is.
It is.
Okay.
That was a long minute. I'm sorry.
So, this is I want to say the third or fourth time I've watched this film now. The first couple of times, I've always had it at 7. I've always been very impartial to this film. I always watch it. It's always been okay. It's not been great. When this podcast was coming up, I was like, okay, let's rewatch this film. And I had to try and form some type of opinion towards this film. Because when we're talking about it now, it's not a film I've ever thought enough of to actually have a discussion about. It's a bit like, if you listen to our Patreon episode, what Ben said, sometimes the worst films are the films you're going to give a 7 or a 6, because you can't then talk about it. You don't hate it enough to make an opinion on, and you don't love it enough to talk about it as well. And this film falls in this bracket. So watching it now, I'm trying to put myself on one side or the other. I'm like, okay, I've got to really judge this film. Is it going up? Is it going down? And it went down. I don't get this film. I don't get why people would like it. It's funny in places, but it's really not funny enough to be a standalone comedy, which this film is trying to be. It just doesn't work on that level. There are so many parts that fall flat. It's just... I like the Coen films. I think this is probably the worst film they have by them. I really like it. And I like also the films that Paul's compared it to, like your Baby Drivers, you're going to talk about your Nice Guys, all that kind of stuff. I like all those type of films, but this just doesn't work. The performances aren't bad, but most of them are just irritating on quite a lot of levels. And I love Brad Pitt as well. I've watched films just to be Brad Pitt in it, but yeah, this film, and I'm giving it a 6 out of 10 now. It was a 7 before, and it's gone down to a 6.
Ridiculous.
I just don't get it. I really don't get how I can get how you give this film.
It's beyond you, Adam. Clearly,
I would get how you gave this film an 8, but I do not get how you put this as the 13th best film you've ever watched. And you've watched a lot of films.
That's super surprising to me as well. 13,
I love this film. I just love it.
So, yeah, I didn't like this film beforehand when I watched it. And coming back to something that you just said, Adam, the worst thing that I could say about Burn After Reading was that it was just very ordinary. It was just very average. It wasn't that it was terrible. It was just fairly unforgettable. And that was criminal to me because I love...
You said it was unforgettable.
Huh?
You said it was unforgettable. You said it's very unforgettable.
It's unforgivable, which is unforgivable.
Oh, I think something's coming through, Ben.
I changed my rating. It's actually a 10 out of 10 on this latest viewing. The issue for me is that this is the Coen brothers, right? So maybe if I watched this film in isolation, if I had no knowledge of the Coen brothers and what they could do, if I watched Burn After Reading in isolation, I might have gone, do you know what, that was quite well done in places. But the reality for me is this. I love the Coen brothers, and what I love about the Coen brothers, particularly my favourite film by them, which is The Big Lebowski, is that you take the average Joe, Jamie's fist pumping, so we'll call that out. You take the average Joe, the average man, who you can identify with, and then you throw him into a bizarre situation with eccentric, bizarre characters. The key thing that works for something like The Big Lebowski is that those eccentric fringe characters are exactly that. They stay on the fringe. You never follow them. You stick with the dude from beginning to end. I feel like with Burn After Reading, Malkovich's character is almost set up to be your point of identification from the beginning. From the minute he gets fired at Langley, it's like, okay, this is our guy. He's fired for no reason. What? He's complaining about it. Why am I being fired? Here's your point of identification. And those opening 15 minutes of the film, on this rewatch, I was like, oh, this is a good film. Yeah, I was like, this is a good film. I like this, actually. And then I forgot that it departs from that narrative and it forces you to spend time, endure time with the worst characters the Coens have ever put on screen. And I'm talking about Brad Pitt, and I'm talking about Frances McDormand, and I'm sorry, Paul, I'm talking about George Clooney. These three characters in any other Coens film should appear for 5 minutes at a max on the fringe, and your main character encounters them once. For you to follow them for as much time as you follow Malkovich is unforgivable, to the point where you're asking me to enjoy their nonsense. You're asking me to enjoy how dickish they're behaving and how stupid they're behaving. Brad Pitt, we'll get into it. Brad Pitt is one of the most loathsome characters I've ever seen in this film. Every time you post a GIF of him on Twitter, I can't stand it. It makes me furious because I'm like, oh my God, these are such grating, annoying people. If I encountered them in the wild, in the world, I would walk away from them. So to be forced to face that on Twitter and in film constantly is just horrendous. So that's why it suffered. I don't understand why it's a good story. I can understand, for me, the one thing that I can say to its credit is it's making its characters feel like they're involved in this really complex, intricate intelligence plot when really everything boils down to sex and affairs. I can dig that, but I think that's not enough for me to enjoy this film when I have to endure those characters. So if the film had followed Malkovich all the way through, I'd give it a very high rating. But as it was, on this, which is I think my third or fourth viewing, I do exactly like Adam does. I take it from the 7 I gave it before, and it gets the 6 out of 10.
Completely out of order.
Yeah, point of order.
Yeah, you made me go on one side of the fence to the other, and it had to go on that side.
It had to be that side.
Of course, Adam would follow you. It's always the way it goes.
I said it first.
I said it first.
He said it first.
Go on, Jamie.
This
your time to shine.
This is fascinating. It really is. Right. Okay. Now, like you guys, I'm a massive Coen fan. I love the films. But one of the reasons why I really wanted to do this particular film was that not all Coen films I've appreciated on first viewing. And I'm going to be perfectly honest with you here and say, when I first watched Fargo and The Big Lebowski, I didn't really rate them. I didn't. And I think part of that could have been my age at the time. Both times I was in university, and I don't know if I didn't get it or I didn't. I don't know the reason, but since then I've watched them many times, and they have just gone up and up in my estimation. Big Lebowski is, as far as I'm concerned, that is their best film. Okay,
we can agree on that one, Jamie.
And any time I can put that on, and I immediately I am just taken with it. So that Burn after reading, I watched it really initially, Paul, after your glowing Twitter recommendation, and I thought, this is going to be a really good. I can't believe I haven't watched this up to this point. This is. Oh,
you hadn't watched it?
I hadn't watched it. Which was I've seen basically all of the films, so I thought, right, I'm really looking forward to this. See, the problem with that, you set my expectations so high that in a way it could only go down. Okay? So, when I first watched it, I thought, well, this is second tier Coen at best. This is, this wouldn't get into my top 10 Coen brother films. So I went into the rewatch, and you see, this is important, okay? I think Coen brothers have got rewatchability, okay? So I wasn't sure how my second viewing would go, and it improved significantly.
Oh, yes.
Interesting.
That's what I like to hear.
Well,
the opposite of us, Adam.
It really did, and I'll tell you one of the reasons why. One of the big reasons why is that I was much more on board with what it was intending to be. I wasn't watching it for what I wanted it to be, necessarily. I was watching it more as, I'll go more about that later on. But there's a clear way that they are taking the piss basically with this film, obviously, and there's two scenes that on second watch I was laughing before anything actually happened. So it's obviously spoiler heavy here. It's Brad Pitt's death and the reveal of George Clooney's sex chair.
Yes, so good.
Because both of those scenes, the first time I watched it, I sort of had that CIA response of, what the fuck, what's going on here, right? Which is supposed to ape the sort of the audience response, really, isn't it, right? But particularly when Brad Pitt gets killed, when he's hiding inside the closet, I'm just giggling away because I know what's going to come. And you've got George Clooney saying beforehand, him saying, in 20 years I haven't discharged my weapon, and it's just about muscle reflexes, and you're given the clues, you're given the foreshadowing, which you might not necessarily pick up the first time, but the second time when he was saying that, I was clued in. I was like, yes, it's foreshadowing, and just that scene. It's just Clooney has his 10-second shower, which is amazing.
Yes, so quick.
And
his sex pillow.
You see Chad in inside the wardrobe, whatever, and he sees the gun. He sees the holster, doesn't he? And so he's like, oh shit, what's coming up here? And you think anyone with an ounce of common sense would have rushed Clooney with element of surprise. He just stands there with this stupid look at his face and bang in the head. Brilliant. It's just hilarious. And then how Clooney responds to it, I think it's just hilarious as well. He gives off this bluster that he's a strong, he's full of shit, obviously. And then when he does that dramatic roll in, afterwards as well, it's just brilliant.
You fucker.
Yeah. and then the sex chair. I mean, it's just brilliant. You have this sort of scene. You think, something really significant is going on. He's planning this, and several times you have him downstairs working on this, and this is something significant
with the score as well on top of that. Absolutely, and it's building up. I thought you talked about my score there, which I haven't given yet. No. That's fine, whenever you're ready.
Shall I just give you my score, because I've gone into the analysis here, haven't I? Okay, my score is an 8.
Oh, okay, cool, lovely.
My score is an 8, and it's gone up. It's gone up from I would probably given it between a 6 or 7. It's gone up to an 8, and I'll explain hopefully in due course.
Do you reckon it will go up if you watched it again?
There's potential for that.
It's very interesting. I do think what you say is correct, that it as with all films, repeat viewings reward higher scoring.
Not all films, I wouldn't say.
Not all films, but like a film like this, I was actually thinking about it this morning because, ironically enough, I was on the cross trainer this morning, just rewatching the beginning, the opening 20 minutes. I was, and it felt like I was at Hard Bodies. But while I was watching it, I was thinking, I can see how a rewatch, when you know all that's to come, some of these plot points pay off a little better. And that may well be the case. But if they don't, even on second viewing, if you know how it's going to play out, if they don't resonate with you anyway, which they didn't for me personally, it just doesn't work. I'm very glad, Jamie, that you were entertained and found funny moments in it. Paul, I'm very glad that you were so entertained that it's up in the high echelons of 13 out of thousands of films you've watched. But I can understand Adam's score. I can't understand yours.
I can understand Jamie's to an extent as well. Like I said, there is some funny parts to it, but there's not enough for it to be the film it is, because it is at heart. It's a comedy, isn't it?
It's so funny. This film is so funny to me.
I can honestly tell you, I laughed once in this whole film, and it was Malkovich when he's doing the bingo wings exercise in his boat.
The whole film, I'm just laughing at the idiocy of like everything. That I laugh at the score the whole way through. Just George Clooney with his reflux. His like just George Clooney.
Excuse me. George Clooney's reflux is such a bad joke.
It's not. It's so funny.
It is exactly. What's funny in that situation? What's funny in that situation is when Malkovich says to him, "Lactose reflux. You mean so you have lactose intolerance or acid reflux?" And then Clooney says, "Oh, lactose intolerance," and Malkovich says, "So you misspoke." That's funny because he's like, "Correct this fucking idiot." But
this is the point. This is the
when
point.
He's eating,
you're on the side of John Malkovich, and your thoughts are on John Malkovich's thought process.
It's true.
Where I'm
true.
on the level of them and experiencing their stupidness as humour. Where you're just get annoyed by their stupidness. That's the difference.
Are you meant to, just stepping away from it for a minute, are you meant to think that Clooney's antics and Brad Pitt's antics are funny? Are you meant to think they're funny, or are you meant to?
Come on,
you're
now.
meant to laugh. You're meant to laugh at what they do. Are
yes, absolutely. Every single beat of the movie, you're supposed to laugh at that.
Well, it either works or it doesn't. And it didn't work.
Were you going to it as if it's serious?
No, I'm wondering if you're meant to like laugh at the ironic situations as opposed to Brad Pitt going, "I got her number. I got her number." That's so annoying. You're putting this in a Coen Brothers
Brad
film.
Pitt is so great in that. Listen, the whole film, right? It can be like put into the frame of Clooney's sex chair, right? Everyone's thinking it's this massive big deal, right? It's like, what is he doing? What is it doing? Is it some conspiracy? Is he like building some kind of weapon? Is he doing something? No, it's a disgusting sex chair because it's not supposed to be that. It's something stupid. It's just stupid, ridiculous people. He's a sex pervert, basically. That's all it is. That's just it.
When he takes away his sex pillow.
I know.
That was funny, actually. Yeah, that was quite funny to see that. But see, that was subtle. I like that because that was kind of subtle.
I think it's all subtle. The little subtle facial expression. If it's not subtle, then how come you say is it supposed to be funny?
Because it's so obvious and in your face and highly annoying to the point that surely you're not meant to think Brad Pitt is funny in this situation. Surely you're not meant to be laughing along with Brad Pitt and enjoying his character. His character's literally one of the most annoying characters I've ever seen in cinema. These are his character in particular, and let's talk about his character in particular because you made a point of saying him and Clooney are in career best performances, not Pitt, but close to. You were saying you really enjoyed his performance. Yeah. His performance is so grating.
It's supposed to. He's an annoying person. He's supposed to be.
So, give me an example of films where you've got an irritating character that you enjoy watching.
Burn After Reading.
Apart from this.
Okay, let me think. Annoying character.
He might be annoying, but there is an endearing side to him as well.
Yeah, of course.
He's not.
Help me find it. Help me see that endearing side.
Okay. He is obviously he is a friend of Linda. I think Linda is the unpleasant character. Okay, she is the sort of the almost like the undercover villain of this film. It's her vanity, it's her superficiality that leads to the death of Chad and Ted. Okay, and you can argue that they are okay. Yes, Chad is an idiot, he's a moron, but there is an endearing quality to him. He is loyal, and ultimately you have two of the more positive characters. They are the ones that are brutally butchered, and it's deliberately done. Okay, so you have the shock scene of Chad, but then Ted at the end, who is he is the most likable character. Poor Ted. You have to have sympathy
Say he
for
didn't
poor
deserve that.
Ted. He just gets butchered at the end. But see, the thing is that again, similar to the Coens, they do this throughout the film. It's undercut, isn't it? It's undercut.
Yeah.
And then you don't actually find out. Well, you don't see. You find out. You don't see what happens to John Malkovich's character at that point, do you?
No, that's right.
Yeah.
You hear about it.
Yeah, he got shot.
Yeah, you hear about it, and Malkovich is not presented as a likable character. Okay.
At what? At any point?
I don't think at any point really.
No.
Now, but see, isn't that interesting? Isn't that interesting? So that's what's interesting. Jamie and Paul, you're both saying Malkovich isn't presented as a likable character at any point.
No.
Okay, just hold that thought for a second. Adam, do you think Malkovich is likable?
At the beginning, you're meant to feel for him.
Really?
His wife is having a go. His wife is having a go at him for not telling him about his losing his job when it isn't his fault.
Yes, I agree.
That's the type of thing. He's the person who's stuck in this situation, and you're the one who needs to. You're the one who's getting told you've done so much wrong when you actually haven't done anything. You weren't drinking at work, not that we know of anyway. You tried telling your wife that you lost your job, but she was too interested in the dinner party happening.
Yeah, but
And then they just got him later on.
this is a man though who's so up his own arse, isn't he?
Yes, self-important alcoholic.
Absolutely.
Yeah, but at the time, no. You're meant to feel for him. He's the one who's.
Yeah.
No. I never
You two see the good side in Pitt, but the bad side in Malkovich. Whereas Adam and I see the good side in Malkovich, although I don't know where he stands on Pitt. I'm assuming he doesn't.
I feel like Pitt isn't terrible, but he's not great in this film. And
No,
that
you're not on my side.
That GIF has actually just degraded his character from this film.
The GIF is one of the worst things that could have happened to Pitt's character in this. It made him even more unlikable. It's true.
But you must admit though, he does have some of the best lines in this film. Some classic lines. I mean, just when he's reading off the he's the one who finds a disc initially, isn't he? He's going, all these numbers and stats and shit, numbers and shit. No numbers and shit. And then he goes, then you get the raw intelligence. It's just brilliant.
It's funnier you telling me it though. It's funnier you doing it than when I was watching it.
You put more enthusiasm into it.
The raw intelligence is brilliant. What's the other line? I just thought it was great.
His phone call to
brilliant.
Ozzy is so good.
It's brilliant. And there's another line where someone says, "You're not ideological."
Oh yes.
I don't think so.
I've made a point of writing down here that, ironically, I thought you might be worried about the security of your shit.
Yes.
It's the best line in the film, but it comes out of Pitt's mouth. And I've written brilliant Coen dialogue in the mouth of a shit performance. And that's it. The greatness is Coen's writing, but Pitt delivering it is like, ugh. It's like heaven and hell clashing there.
It's all about Pitt's delivery. It's the whole, that embodiment of Pitt's character delivering that line is what makes it fantastic. He's like this childish idiot delivering that.
Yeah, but see, here's the thing. He's a childish idiot.
I am a good Samaritan. I'm sorry to call you at this hour.
Oh man, I don't get it though. But you're right. It's a childish idiot.
Yes.
So I'm meant to like him. Why?
Yeah.
Because he's childish.
Yeah, you got to feel for him.
On. I much compare him to the dude who is not a child and is naive in his own dealings with the world. Much more identifiable, much more likable. I know he was the main character in Lebowski. He wants his rug back. He's a simple guy.
I'd agree that the dude is more identifiable than Chad.
But more likable. But Chad isn't likable. Is the issue. He's not likable.
I don't think he necessarily needs to be likable as a character to be funny. So another scene that I was just giggling at was when he goes for his meeting with Malkovich in the car, and he's going to go in his tracksuit and his bike, and then just, no, you have to go in a suit. So he gets this cheap suit. Apparently they had to completely sort of mess up the suit because Brad Pitt always looks good in anything, so they really make it rubbish.
Of course he does.
And then you got him cycling to this meeting with this ridiculous helmet on, and he goes in and just that exchange is just brilliant.
His squint.
It's satisfying.
And then that punch he gets.
The punch is so satisfying. It works. It makes me cheer because it's like, yes, thank you for doing that. It's interesting. I'm enjoying it, hearing you recount it more than when I was watching it.
Mm-hmm. It's interesting to think that you back Ozzy over Chad. That's funny.
Because,
it's like you're in the mindset of his character. That's the interesting thing.
Because all right, okay.
He's a sanctimonious idiot.
I mean, he could be seen as sanctimonious, I suppose, but like, let's not beat around the bush. People know our personalities on this podcast, right? So people know that Paul. Okay, if you wanted to, if to do an old thing that we used to do in podcasts that we haven't done for a while, if you were to assign personalities from this film to people, Paul, you would absolutely be Chad. And I would absolutely be Ozzy. Like, it's a no-brainer, right? That's who we'd be. Maybe Adam might be Chad, but that's who we'd be, because that kind of fits with our personalities and how we view film. We've said it before, and it's no bad thing that I perhaps take things a little too seriously, and you probably take things a little too silly. Too sillily. Is there a word for it?
Too sillily.
What's the opposite of seriously?
Unserious.
Whatever that word is, that's the word I mean.
I don't take things serious at all.
Okay, you like Batman Forever, and I like Batman.
That just shows, yeah.
So that kind of shows you, yeah. I like the dark, brooding Batman of Tim Burton, and you like the camp nonsense of Val Kilmer. So it makes sense that in a film like this, I'm gonna like Ozzy, and you're gonna like Pitt and Chad. And I think on the balance of things in Burn After Reading, as clever as it is to basically say, and I do appreciate it, as clever as it is to say all of this potential espionage spy shit is going on that could be all this complex stuff, when really it boils down to this person having an affair, this person putting a dildo in a chair, sex, ultimately reducing down to sex. So don't look too deep into it. It's all a bunch of nonsense. No one knows what the fuck they're doing anyway. You give it people far too much credit. I appreciate that sentiment, but on the balance of things in this film, there's far too much silliness and not enough likability to the whole story and characters that I want to watch. The only character that I wanted to keep watching was Malkovich.
That is odd. That is so odd that you'd want to watch John Malkovich's character.
Malkovich is performing. There's little subtleties. So for all of the googly-eyed acting that there is throughout this film from the cast, which there is, they're all like bobblehead actors. They're all like this throughout the whole film. For those listeners, I'm aware, who can't see what I was doing a bobblehead impersonation.
Yes, yeah. Like you just said.
Malkovich doesn't do that. Malkovich looks and reacts to situations in a very understated way. So, for example, he pours himself a shot of whiskey very early on in the film, and he takes a second and looks at the shot and considers it, and then pours a dribble back into the bottle.
That bothers me every time. He spills it everywhere.
He spills it. That's, for me personally, that's funny, because you're telling me something about the character in that scene in a very subtle way, and I can identify and I can enjoy that moment. That I can identify with. Compare that moment of brilliance, which I do think is brilliant, to the scene where Chad turns up at Linda's apartment and is walking down the hallway in his cycling gear and his headphones, and comes into the apartment and does this horrendous arm pump listening to his iPod. The two just I can't marry the two in the same film. They're not the same level of quality. It's like watching Withnail and I and Dumb and Dumber and putting them into the same film. It doesn't work.
Just even you recounting that scene of him walking down the corridors making me laugh. That's how much I
Isn't that funny? It grates me to recount that story.
It's drivel. It's drivel.
See,
Malkovich's stance in the film on silliness is my stance on the film.
Yeah.
He can't pronounce memoir, though, can he?
He can't, no. Memoir. What did he say? Memoir. My memoir. That is funny.
can't get over how high you put this film, bet, Paul.
It's very high, Paul.
I watched this
Why is
film when it
so
first
high?
came out, and every time I watch it, I love it more and more. I think it's perfect. There's nothing in this film that I don't like. I love I can watch it and watch it and watch it, and it's enjoyable every time.
I think there could be an element of a bit of an Oscar sort of fallout with this film, because this was the film that followed No Country, didn't it? Yeah, and swept the board in the Oscars there. I understand that they actually wrote the scripts at the same time. So I think they probably saw No Country. This is our serious Oscar film, but we want something that is going to be a bit more lighthearted, and something we're going to enjoy a little bit more. A bit more lighthearted, and perhaps that was Burn After Reading. It was similar with Fargo. So Fargo won the Oscar for Frances McDormand, and then the original screenplay. The very next film after Fargo was?
Go on.
The Big Lebowski. And The Big Lebowski was not received as glowingly as it is now. People were disappointed with it. Okay, they thought, okay, I think from Fargo, these are filmmakers on the up. Let's see what they do next. Big Lebowski, what's this shit? They say. Okay, they don't understand it. They don't get it.
An outrageous response.
And look,
but I love the film.
Yes.
I love the film, but it took me time to appreciate it. It took me time, and I know lots of people who have said that. They said, "I didn't like it the first time. I love it now." Okay, similar with Fargo. I didn't get it initially. I love it now. Burn After Reading. Don't know. Maybe I need another few watches, but I don't think it's going to be Big Lebowski. It's not going to be.
How many times have you watched this, Jamie?
This is my second watch, so let's say if I watch it 3 or 4 times.
I would not be able to put a number on it. So many
a time.
So many times.
And I've watched it 3 times. The first time I watched this film, I was flying to Canada. I watched it on a plane. So it was obviously not the best first viewing of it, but I did. I mean, I like I said, I didn't like it then. I thought, oh, stupid. So I watched it again. I think actually the first time I watched it was last year, at the beginning of lockdown. Watching it again on the full screen experience, and it was my viewings were too far apart. It was like a decade apart for me to appreciate things on the rewatch. So when I rewatched it again a couple of nights ago, knowing the beats and the things that were to come, I could appreciate what it was building up to, and I could appreciate the whole every character thinks they're involved in something greater than they really are. That everyone feels they're important, whether it's Clooney watching the black car pull up alongside him while he's jogging, or like you say, Paul, the score that is over the fucking dildo chair when it's revealed. Everything is so heightened with its sense of self-importance. Yeah. The reveal it's all nonsense. I appreciate that. I just can't enjoy the journey. If I don't enjoy the journey now, repeat viewings after this aren't going to help me enjoy the journey. And I think the kicker is every single actor in this is incredible on their own merits. Like, you got the names in this are stunning. The directors, the writers behind it, the Coens, all the elements are there.
But don't you think that's part of the amusement in that they are all basically cast against type? You have these stars, these brilliant stars. Apart from Malkovich isn't necessarily. Yes, you can say there's elements that he's sort of presented in an unlikable way or critical way, but you have Frances McDormand, you have Brad Pitt, you have George Clooney. Anyway, these 3 stars, they are presented as morons. Mm-hmm. Okay,
they're normally strong.
Yeah,
strong
exactly.
Characters.
Going against the Coens always present Clooney as a dim character. They really enjoy doing that. So, is it a bit of a pop at Hollywood sort of stardom and star image, perhaps?
I mean, I would like that if I would love to believe that was the intention, Jamie. I would like to believe that, but I feel like they would have need to have driven that home for me a little bit more in the film for me to say that's what it was.
Mm. But Coen brothers never do that, do they? They'll leave it as a suggestion. Another one that I was thinking, and this is more. I looked into this a little bit. So it was released in 2008, just at the end of the Bush administration. And
interesting.
Yeah, and I do get a sense that this was the Coens taking a bit of a sideswipe at that administration. And I just sense that there's that sense of, the CIA sections, that's sort of representing this sort of self-importance, this, but essentially, a bit of a, hope I'm not offending any of your American viewers, essentially a moronic administration, and then looking at it now,
we don't have any Republican listeners, don't worry.
I thought so. And then you can look at it now; it's possibly even more prescient now with the Trump administration going.
Yeah, yeah.
So,
what do you think about the ending? Do you like it, Ben?
I barely even remember it, and that was only watched it 3 days ago. And the time I watched this before was in October, and the only thing I can remember from the film was the sex chair. Really,
the things you remember, Adam.
He remembers the visuals,
the frogs, the sex chair.
I honestly, the end. I think every time I watch this film, I've kind of just lost attention by the end of the film.
I agree with that. I think it loses
It's not even a long
steam.
film, and it just runs out. When they start trying to tie the story together, it actually just loses its momentum.
I think the pace in it is so great. It's so well paced for me.
It hits a point, and the point is where Brad Pitt goes into Malkovich's house. That, apart from, yes, the incredible surprise of Clooney putting a bullet in the middle of Pitt's face, which, is stand out.
With his smiling face.
Yeah, that stupid bloody face, that punchable face. Ironically, apart from that moment, it does kind of lose its momentum. But the very end, where J.K. Simmons is sat there and he's like, what's going on? What's the situation? What did we learn? I appreciate that, but it also makes me feel like I'm sat there like him going, what was the point of that film? What did we learn? What was the point of it? Okay, if we're meant to go, it was just a bit of nonsense. It was just a bit of nonsense, really. Okay, but then fine. I won't watch you again. You were just a bit of nonsense. Fine.
I see that ending as like the cherry on the top. It's like it's all these people who think they're doing this massive thing, and then it's like, oh yeah, just get rid of him, get rid of the body. Oh god, she's still alive. Yeah, give her a surgery. Let's give her the surgery. Just so she won't say anything, and it just makes everything that happened pretty much worthless. But that's the whole point, because the whole thing is that. And that's what's funny.
That's the point. I get that that's the point, and that's fine. But Jamie, you just said that Linda is in many ways the villain of the film, because ultimately she's doing what she does and puts people in the situation because she wants to pay for her cosmetic surgery. And at the very end, she gets that. It's like, okay, so I've watched all of this, and your message is things aren't really what they seem. It's all a bit of silliness, really. And these idiots, these morons, as Malkovich says, like he's at war with the morons, isn't he? Malkovich's whole thing is like, I've dealt with morons, I'm at war with you. Mm-hmm. At the end, a moron gets her way, and I find that just unsatisfying as a film. As a number 13 spot for you, Paul, what is the satisfaction from the story that you take?
The journey.
Forget the laughs.
The journey. The ending really doesn't matter. I enjoy the whole journey, and that end is just like, look, it means nothing. The government, they don't even know what the hell went on, and you're not supposed to think like, oh my god, this is a massive story. It is exactly what it is. It's just a pointless story, and it just ends with no one understanding what the hell went on, and that's beautiful.
It's much like our podcast, to be honest. Yeah,
but the journey, is my favourite thing. I love watching these characters in this world doing this stupid thing they think is not a stupid thing. They think it's the best thing in the world, and they're going to get loads of money, and I love it.
Okay,
they're idiots. I love watching idiots.
I can dig it. Yeah, I can dig that.
I just like how the film sort of starts from the CIA perspective, and plays on the sort of the spy tropes
Eye in the sky, right from
absolutely.
the beginning.
Then it focuses down, and it's going to say, right, we are going to focus on something really, really important. And then you get the lives of these idiots, absolute morons. Everyone is screwing everyone. And they're all caught up in their own little world. Okay? They're so self-absorbed, selfish individuals, right? Well, most of them are. Okay? And then every now and again, sort of, you get the CIA perspective again. And I think that sort of represents the audience perspective as well. You sort of think, well, what the hell's going on? What a clusterfuck and everything, And ultimately the film does come back out again. It does sort of say, right, we're now going to pull away from these small-minded idiots who think the world, this is all about them. And it comes, I think, coming back out again, that is then representing, the government cover-up angle and the sense of, pushing, sweeping everything under the carpet, getting rid of the evidence, and that's sort of the callousness of the the ways that power can get rid of things just like that.
Yeah,
and
I'm inclined to agree with that. Yes, yeah. I think the difference is just it can't be. I respect what both of you are saying, and Paul, if it's your number 13, I'm glad it's your number 13. I'm not saying you're wrong, because of course you're not wrong. Like we've said, it's your perception. It's hard for me to comprehend, in probably the same way it's hard for you to comprehend why something like With No and I could be in my top 10, because for you, I know that film just doesn't work at all. But ultimately, you can understand that it's trying to be funny, and you can understand what it's doing. For me, it resonates. For you, it doesn't. For you guys, Burn After Reading resonates. For me and Adam, it clearly doesn't. But the question I want to ask, the wider question, stepping away from this film, is about idiots in cinema. Jamie, you said, and it's true, I agree, someone doesn't have to be likable for you to find them funny. I agree. Mm-hmm. But what's the dividing line when you are watching a character in a film who is unlikable? What is it that is it in the hands of the performer? Is it in the hands of the director that makes you go, I like this person? They've done terrible things, or they're being super annoying, but the way it's acted, or the way it's directed, or the way it's written makes it good. The main thing that jumps to mind is Jim Carrey, who I don't massively like, but I can appreciate in some films and I cannot appreciate in others. And I think for me, it's always Carrey, but it must be the hands of the director that reins him in and makes him likable in this and not likable in that.
Well, I think it's a combination of factors. Yeah, of course, you've got the performer, but you have to think about the script, you have to think about the director. And Coen brothers, they specialise in these dim-witted fools, don't they?
Mm-hmm. But they're normally lovable, I find.
Well,
I'd say these are lovable characters still.
I certainly think that Chad is lovable. I think that Linda, perhaps you're on board with her initially, and you got, again, there's people that are just everyone's exploiting each other.
Yes.
So you have the plastic surgeon. I really like going through all these surgeons. And he's saying at the end, what about the vaccine scarf? Oh no, so he's wanting to. He's all in it.
A little bit more. Yeah.
Yeah, and you have the lawyer at the very beginning, sort of saying, "Well, I'm obliged to say this, but I want to." Everyone's out for every. So, in many ways, this is a dark comedy.
Yeah,
I see that there's dark comedy in this. Then there's, Coen's. Sometimes they get criticised for being a bit nihilistic. And perhaps there's an element of that in this. But I think ultimately there's a lightness of touch with it, which I like. And I personally think, some elements of Brad Pitt's performance could be annoying, but he turned it around for me in the rewatch. He did. Yeah, I mean, yeah. I found him endearing and funny. I took some pleasure of how he was killed as well. That was funny. But I found him a likable, endearing character. Ultimately, he's a genuine character. He's thick as shit.
I mean, he's genuine. Yeah,
but
he's genuinely thick as shit.
Yeah, but
it's true.
But he is a genuine character. He's probably the most genuine character in the film, arguably. Everyone else seems to be, backstabbing one another. There's cheating and there's subterfuge and there's deception, etc. He is arguably, along with Ted, the only genuine, likable characters in the film, and the Coens are taking the piss here by brutally killing the two most likable characters.
I mean, that's an interesting thought. The two most likable characters get killed. However, I would argue that Malkovich is more likable.
We'll never see that. Just like you never see about Brad Pitt, I'll never see about John Malkovich.
A very funny moment in it that's very understated is when he leaves the note for his wife saying, gone to the Princeton reunion dinner. All his squeezed limes from his drinks are holding the note down on the saucer. That's funny. That's funny.
But see, these are the sort of the bits that you will pick up much more in rewatches.
Yeah, that's true.
And I can see myself getting more and more sort of rewarded with future watches. So maybe, I can't see it getting higher than a 9.
God, look, Jamie's going up to a 9 now.
I can't see it going higher than a 9.
I actually saw a joke that I never saw before this last watch, and that was when they go to the Russians with the disc, and he goes, PC or Mac?
That's funny, yeah. Yeah, that is funny. Moments like that are funny. It is a shame if, for me personally, it's a shame that so much of the comedy relies on like Pitt and McDormand and Clooney, because a lot of the surrounding stuff is good.
Every time I watch this film, I want to like it and I want to get into it and I want to get it because, like you say, I like Coen films. Like they're good films, and like you compare it to Lebowski, who's a great film, and you want more like that. And these type of characters in normal other situations of films I enjoy, but I just don't get it. Every single time I'm like, this is going to be the one.
It's beyond you, Adam. It's fine. Some films can be beyond your comprehension.
It's like,
it got me. Oh.
I can't watch any Nolan film if you can't get burned after reading.
There's different layers to it and different levels. People can appreciate it on one level or another. I think you either go with the charm of the characters or you don't. And
that's it. I think that's
Paul and Jamie.
You've
gone with it.
It's down to you appreciating the ridiculousness of the character that's been created by the actor, and I absolutely love it. I don't care about John Malkovich, but you seem to care about John Malkovich. We all latch to different things. That's just the way we do in films. You latch onto different characters. You find yourself in characters.
People find different moments. It would be interesting if there was such a film that could meld all the worlds, where you could have a character like Malkovich, which for me is my way into Burn After Reading. That's the reason it gets the 6. If Malkovich wasn't in there, it'd be lower. But for me, he's my access point. For you, I guess who's your access points are Clooney and Pitt. So if you could somehow find a way of creating a story which balances out both and makes both equally valuable to the story and not have the other infringe on the other side of the story, then you could be onto something special. You're not watching Malkovich and going, oh, he's spoiling this film for me because he's too serious.
No.
But I'm watching Pitt and Clooney and saying, this is spoiling the film for me because they're too ridiculous. I don't want the whole film to be serious, but I wanted it.
I don't go into it thinking, I hate John Malkovich as an actor playing the character.
Well, you said you wouldn't change any part of the film.
No. I'm not saying that. I'm saying I like the character that is created. I don't like the character's personality in the film. As in, I see him as a bad guy.
What's he done that's bad? Apart from being alcoholic?
He just comes across as... I just get like a bad feeling from him.
He's the one who's getting fucked over here in this film the most.
I would say so, yeah. I would agree.
His wife is cheating on him. Yeah. He's just stuck in the middle of all this shit because his wife's shagging someone else.
He's not. He just likes a drink.
He likes a drink. He sees himself as this, oh, look at me, I'm a CIA analyst. Look at me, I'm the best thing ever. Oh, someone's calling me. Someone's calling me on the CIA phone. Oh, I don't actually mean much, actually. Let me have a drink.
He's thrown into this situation because his wife's having an affair and he ended up with
He's creating a memoir because he thinks he's this amazing CIA operative when really he's nothing.
Whatever, yeah.
I like the fact that he thinks his memoirs are important, and then when the Russians get their hands on it, they're like, "This is trivial."
Exactly.
Yeah. I do like that. Yeah,
that is the joke,
Yeah.
and it's constantly undercutting his character because he thinks he is so special. When he goes to his sort of little Princetown gathering, whatever, it's just a celebration of,
it's pomposity without
absolutely.
any justification.
They're all like slobs. All those people are just slobs. Just
They are slobs.
He's got a chicken bone in his hand. It's while he's singing.
You're not supposed to like him. You're not. Well, I don't.
I
And
do.
then come on,
isn't that funny?
he chops Ted in the head with an axe. He's a bad guy.
He's been put into that corner. But
Ted is the nicest one in the film. That's the thing we take from this.
He's the only proper 100% nice guy, and I think it's deliberate that the end of the film with him being butchered.
Yes.
He's the only guy who's been caught up in it unintentionally, 100% not his fault.
Yes. One particularly Cohen scene, very, very Cohen scene, although I didn't think it played out as well as I would have liked, is when Pitt has got the CD on in the gym and they're in a cycle of repeating words. Like you said, Jamie, he's doing the whole thing. CIA shit, and Jenkins is like, I'm not comfortable with this. And the guy who found the disc, I just found it there on the floor.
Right it's on the floor there.
And they just keep looping this conversation.
He goes,
that is very Cohen Brothers.
He turns around and says, okay, you never found this. I found it on the floor there.
Yeah, he's right there on the floor. But see, I'm laughing now, recounting it with you guys.
Yes.
I wasn't really laughing when I was watching the film. I was like, I can see it's kind of funny.
This is the beauty of film. This is like we were talking about Velocipasta earlier.
Yeah.
When experiencing it with other people, it adds something, another layer to the film that's amazing.
Yes, I agree.
Imagine watching this film with Ben, though, Paul.
I think
enjoy that.
if me and Ben watched this together, he would be laughing more than he would on his own.
Of course,
I think it might be his most enjoyable watch of it, but I don't think you still like it.
Yeah, you're right. It would be my most enjoyable watch of it if I'm watching it with you, because then I'm experiencing it with someone who's enjoying it a little more, so I could laugh at things that I might not otherwise laugh at. But ultimately, my view remains the same.
When you watch it with me, we'll be like Francis McDormand and George Clooney sitting in the cinema.
I had this note. I had the note that me and you are Frances McDormand when she goes on that first date, and you and Jamie are her when she's on the date with George Clooney.
Yes.
Here is something slightly disturbing for you. When she goes onto the dating site and she finds the guy who doesn't laugh in the cinema, do you see what his list of turn-ons are?
No, I didn't see that actually. What did it say?
It says something, something, and kids.
Really?
Does it?
Yes, and he does look like a paedophile.
Surely that's not on the dating website.
Yeah. A list of turn-ons.
Oh, he looks cool. He looks cool.
I did find that funny. And again, I resonated in that scene, rightly or wrongly, when there was that awful line of dialogue and Frances McDormand is having the time of her life. Yeah, I get it, that people do just want to shut brains off sometimes and watch those films that just make them feel good. Totally, I do it too. But in that situation, I would obviously not sit there like an arsehole with a stone cold face. But I'm like, I mean, he's not an arsehole here. He's just like, if he's not funny, he shouldn't laugh just to fit in with everyone else.
He's cheating on his wife. So
he's an arsehole for that reason, yes. For that reason. Not because he didn't laugh at the Kirsten Dunst bit.
I don't know what the line was. It was something like, the punchline was,
Will you come down from there? Yeah. I mean, it is funny, and it is sweet that she goes with Clooney and then Clooney laughs at it. That's sweet, but Clooney's like fairing it up as well.
He's like throwing his popcorn everywhere when he's laughing.
I love the scene as well when Clooney encounters the all the way through the film. He's been followed and he's paranoid. And you think, oh, this could be something significant, and ultimately it turns out someone who is sent to just to find out who he's cheating on for a divorce. And then, but the scene when he encounters the guy in the car. Just
trying to get out of the space.
It's like an Austin Powers, bit.
That is a bit Austin Powers.
and then he gets him on the floor and, who are you? Is it Walter Marsh or something?
Tuckman Marsh.
Tuckman Marsh.
Is that your name?
That is a perfect example of a Coen scene that didn't work for me because it was in the delivery. And that guy from Big Bang Theory, comic book guy, just couldn't play.
He annoyed me straight away.
Did, right?
I just remembered him from Big Bang Theory, and I thought, okay, now you're not funny because you've been in Big Bang.
Yeah, it didn't. It just didn't work for me. It was like wrong casting. That I can see the Coens writing that and that being.
But did that happen
good.
before Big Bang? He obviously probably got cast in that before he was in Big Bang Theory.
Yeah, I think so.
Another scene that I like is one of the first. This is one of the first times you see Brad Pitt. And he's doing the leg workout with the man, and he goes too far. And he goes, "Something snapped in my ass."
That is funny. Yeah, I wrote that down. That's funny.
Then he just leaves him.
He just leaves him. It's like you're not even a good gym instructor.
Brilliant.
That is funny. Yeah, I wrote that down. I'll give you that one.
And also, like when George Clooney, he just found out that he's having a divorce, and he's smashing up the chair, but he's just hitting the dildo back and forward when he sits in the chair. It's so ridiculous.
I didn't like that one.
He said it was expensive as well.
Well, it was, right?
I have been positive through most of this, as you know, but one area that I think wasn't as good is the cinematography, the style of it, which is normally with the Coens, it's Roger Deakins who does the cinematography, and he's a master. But he didn't do the cinematography for this film, and it does feel it's got a very different feel to a typical Coen film, which it's not as visually interesting as the Coen films are normally. There's one really good shot, one scene when the main character is Ozzy. He's speaking to his wife, and she's framed in the mirror, and it's like you got three. It's composed beautifully. But apart from that, I didn't really sense the usual sort of style that you get in a Coen film.
Is that the shot where he tells her he's left his job, and she's got the strips under her eyes?
That's the one. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that is a good shot. Yeah.
I think for me, just like with all that in mind, all that we've come to say, I can appreciate everything you said. I'm not arguing with anything that you said. I just think some people approach films from different walks of life and different appreciations of what is funny, what's not funny, who you can identify and who you can't. For me, it's like the least Coen film I've ever seen, which is why it didn't work. And I really like the Coens generally. And it just didn't feel like a Coen film, even though it had a couple of those elements.
I would say that No Country for Old Men feels less Coen.
Yeah.
Than what they're.
The nihilism. I think the nihilism that Jamie you mentioned is very Coen's, because when you go all the way back to Blood Simple, it feels very Coen.
Yeah.
Like Blood Simple is one of the earliest Coen films, and that feels up very much in line with No Country
as
for
like
Old
a
Men.
staple of what you think a Coen Brothers film is, I'd say that No Country for Old Men is not that.
I disagree.
See, I said there is nihilism in Burn After Reading, though, isn't there? There is. It is there. It's a dark comedy. No Country for Old Men, I love it. It's a brilliant film, but it doesn't feel like a Coen film. Not for me.
But you guys have seen Blood Simple.
I haven't seen Blood Simple.
I have.
Jamie, you don't think it holds a lot in common with Blood Simple?
Possibly, but Blood Simple was their very first film, and I don't really think it was. They hadn't sort of really identified their identity. At that point. So I can see they're probably saying, it's a while since we've done a film like this. Let's do a sort of neo-noir, a dark, nihilistic film.
They swing both ways with it. They swing to these very dark films and then go very bright. But it's always like pastiche and spoof, which normally works well from them.
But with No Country, it wasn't their original material.
No. Yeah,
it's adapted.
Cormac McCarthy.
Yeah. Whereas
that's a hard one to adapt as well.
Yeah, Burn After Reading, and that was the first original screenplay for about 3 or 4 films. So
interesting.
It is very Coen's, that film, then.
I think it is. I think it is. But I didn't think that in the first watch.
Yeah.
And I'm going to have to watch it again now, probably straight after this podcast.
Well, the thing is, It's all Coens. It's all very Coens because it's their work. So at the end of the day, it is Coens.
Of course.
So Ben, are you saying that you're not going to watch it again? Is this the lid?
I think this is the lid closed because I watched it at the beginning of lockdown, and when I watched it then, I said, "Oh well, I'm never going to watch it again." And then I did watch it again, and I'm glad that I did because it wasn't like I hated it when I was watching it, but it reinforced some things for me that I felt on the previous viewing that I thought maybe I needed to watch again to see if I really felt that way. I did, and as such, it came down accordingly. I think that's it for me.
Yeah.
Whereas there's many other Coen films which I would rewatch endlessly.
Mr. Pocket.
Yeah, Mr. Pocket could appear many a time. But yeah, for me, unfortunately, that's last viewing. But Paul will more than make up for my lack of watches by watching on behalf of me.
Definitely.
I'm going to be watching it again, I think. Yeah.
Fantastic.
Adam, will you watch it again?
Adam watches bad films over and over again that he doesn't like.
This is true, yeah. You should love it all the time, Adam.
Yeah, that's it for the first time. I rewatched it recently in October, and I looked on my letterbox. It was October time I last watched it. I don't know. There's a thing with it. It's like I do want to get it. Like I do want to like it, but it's just not happening. So I think without trying to force it, it's just better to leave this one and move on and accept.
That's fine. You don't have to get every film, Adam. It's fine.
Yeah.
Don't let him put you down, Adam.
He disagrees. He agrees.
You don't get it. No one gets every film.
I know.
You did get it. You just didn't like it. Don't do yourself a disservice.
Okay, then, shall we move on to what our beautiful followers have to say on Twitter?
Let's.
Okay, so first of all, we have the Contrarians. They say, so funny and so good. Special kudos to the Jenk for quietly sealing the movie with his final scene. Got to agree with that. He got that chop. He got chopped. And that's actually Julio, I'm guessing, because he gives it a 9 out of 10. Just thrown out there.
What Julio gives it a 9 out of 10?
Yes, he gives it a 9 out of 10.
I would like to know what Julio gives the other Coens by comparison.
We'll never know.
Julio has some weirdly high-rated films. I'll go into some film, and it would be like an average of like a 2, and everyone's giving it like 6s, and there's Julio on like an 8.
Julio is normally an anomaly. It's true. Julio will go real low sometimes on films that you expect him to respect, and they go real low, and you're like, wow. And because I respect him so much, it makes me question whether or not my opinion is wrong. I'm like, maybe am I wrong for enjoying this?
Oh, Julio, we respect you and we love you.
We love you, Julio.
Next up, we have one here from Bobby Brandt. She says, all filmy people seem to love it, and I could just not get along with it at all. All of the funny parts were in the trailer and somehow were less funny in context.
Well, apparently you guys aren't filmy people. That's what they're saying. So me and Jamie are clearly filmy people.
In inverted commas.
Do you want to be the filmy person?
Of course.
You can go off and do your films of Reservoir Dogs and stuff like that then.
I very much agree with what Bobby said there. I remember the trailer because it was quite frantic and manic. It was quick cuts of lots of scenes, and I remember distinctly Malkovich's car getting shunted and his head snapping back as one of the quick cuts in the trailer. And it's true.
You remember so much weird stuff.
But I remember, and then to see it in context, yeah.
How can I be filmy? I've never heard of Reservoir Dogs. What's that?
Leaving it in, and no one will know why.
Yeah. And then finally we have Luke Human, who says this is one of the most fast-paced of the Coens films and benefits from the pacing because it is essentially a farce. As usual, an entertaining cast of characters are woven throughout the narrative and sharp, funny dialogue is delivered brilliantly. While this has less depth than a lot of the brothers' catalogue, it is a lot of fun and ultimately satisfying.
Well done, Luke.
I wonder what rating he'll give it.
He gave it an 8, I think, from memory.
8?
Yeah.
Good.
You know. Well, I could agree halfway with it. So if I were to just to look at his review there, One of the most fast-paced of the Coens films, yeah, and benefits from the pacing. I don't think it benefits from it because it dragged for me. An entertaining cast of characters, half entertaining, are woven throughout the narrative, yes. Sharp, funny dialogue is delivered brilliantly. Sharp, funny dialogue in the script is delivered less well by the actors who perform it. While this...
You are going in on my match.
While this has less depth than a lot of the Brothers catalogue, it is a lot of fun and ultimately satisfying. While it has less depth than a lot of the Brothers catalogue, it is in some ways fun and ultimately unsatisfying. That's my review.
You've never ever done that to anyone else's review before.
Well, it's just because it was there for the taking.
Just know that in context is you saying this film's unforgettable, so it's going to be in the episode always.
Well, I won't forget it now. If I wanted to forget it, I won't be able to because we've done an episode.
It's almost unforgettable for the wrong reason.
Yes.
Like, you will never forget American Psycho 2.
No.
Beautiful. Well, should we go on to placing this film?
Let's place the film.
Right, we just took a break to rate this film, and it got a 7.5. So this is the score we've never had before, and it places very nicely between Sorcerer at a 7.7 and The Velocipasta at 7.3.
Wow.
Oh, no, don't be doing that.
It's Pip Velocipasta.
What a combo.
Paul, man, you need to bump Velocipasta up now.
Do you know what? It might happen the end of the year. Who knows? Let's see. Right, I think this is a nice time to move on to Jamie rating a film that we've done on the podcast before. Would you like to say what you want to rate out of all our episodes, Jamie?
I would like to... Is it re-rate, is it? Or,
yes.
Midsommar.
Oh, beautiful.
Midsommar.
Beautiful.
Yeah. And I would like to repair the damage of Adam's... Was it a 6?
Oh,
Did you give it a 6, Adam?
He gave it
I gave it a 6, yeah.
It's a 9 for me. It's
Fantastic.
Good lad, Jamie.
And just so everyone knows, it was at an 8.3, and that was between Goal and They Live, and now it is at an 8.5, and it's sitting at 14th place on our charts.
That's
That's
better.
deserved. That's deserved.
Did you two both give it a 10?
I give it a 9.
I gave it a 10. It knocked
It's
my
one of those
socks
films
off when I saw that.
Maybe try and revisit it, but it's just too much.
It's one of those films that Adam doesn't
revisit.
understand, like Burn After Reading.
It just
gunning
falls
for
so
you.
flat after a while.
Have any of you seen the director's cut?
Yes.
Yeah.
I enjoyed it. You weren't so keen.
I enjoyed it a little less.
Yeah, I'm not sure whether I'll go for it or not. I think I might just leave the theatrical.
I think you don't need it, but Paul, I know you prefer it.
I enjoyed the fact that it explores more about the like all the people that are placed in the burning. This is spoilers, by the way.
Right.
This is spoilers.
Right.
I'll put the spoilers thing in.
Spoiler alert. Spoiler alert.
The girl who went in the lake in this wheelbarrow.
Right, yeah.
It adds a bit more depth to those stories, and I appreciate that.
Okay.
So what is this sandwiched in between now, Paul?
So
if it's
now
in 14th?
this is sandwiched in between Uncut Gems at an 8.7 and Smoke at an 8.5.
Wow, fucking hell, Smoke's up high, innit?
Look at that.
Uncut Gems. Have you seen Smoke, Jamie?
Yes, I have. Yes, I gave a review for that. I think, didn't I? I'm sure I did. Yeah.
Was it complimentary?
It was.
Oh, good. That's okay.
Did you know that it's a sequel of sorts?
Yeah. I've got the sequel. I haven't watched it yet. I ordered it after that because it was only looking at the trivia that I realised.
Smoke is the sequel. The other one comes before it. I think. I'm pretty sure.
Is it? Well, so my
yeah.
understanding is that when they filmed Smoke, they filmed so much extra footage that they decided to take the extra footage and turn that into rather than a sequel, like a side-by-side film. So I guess it's like a B-roll footage from Smoke.
All right. No, I thought it was. I'm pretty sure I saw it was a few years earlier, but maybe I got that wrong.
We'll interrogate that.
Yeah.
So, now then let's move on to Patreon Corner. So, as you will know, listeners of the last few podcasts, it's at this point that we turn to our faithful patrons and get them to shout out what they have been watching recently, the highs and the lows. We obviously have a patron with us today, so let's leave Jamie till last and let's hit up. Well, who should we hit up first, Paul?
This hit up Nerdrovert. He says,
What's he been watching?
He says, I finally watched both installments of Kill Bill and dipped my toe into the animated side of DC with Batman Year 1. While Kill Bill was really good, I feel the hype train props up Volume 1 more than it should. Year 1 was better than I expected, and I enjoyed the focus on Gordon and his start in Gotham. The bad this past week was really bad. I watched Lockdown, and despite how much you might enjoy the movie Host, Lockdown will make you never want to see a Zoom quarantine film ever again. Lazy writing and stiff acting all around. Right.
On Kill Bill, I agree. I think, personally, without getting into that, because that's a whole conversation, Kill Bill has always left me cold, both parts of it.
Ever since I rewatched Kill Bill, it has gone down in my estimated. I think I had one at a 9, and now they're both, I think, like an 8 and a 7. I feel like they do not... The first one is good. The first one is a good film. The second one, I feel it just leaves you a bit...
It's dragging out a story that doesn't really need to be that long anyway. Style is good, but
I give one a 9 and the second one an 8.
Very high.
Yeah, I used to do that, and I think over time they've gone down in my estimations.
I think Nerdrovert, from memory, I think he gave part 2 a higher score than part 1. Yeah.
Interesting. He likes the western side more than the eastern side.
I can't stand all the training.
That whole sequence at the end of the part 1 though is brilliant though. The whole crazy 88 scene, that is...
It's fine. It feels like it's made to be memorable, if that makes sense. It feels like Tarantino was like, I'm going to do this so that people always talk about this, rather than from a pure sense, more of a show-off sense, because he is a showboater, Tarantino.
Yes, but sometimes you need that.
I know, but it doesn't feel like it's made from a very genuine place. It feels a bit artificial.
What, like Nolan films making Tenet?
Yes. Agreed.
I can't speak about Batman Year 1, I've watched it. I gave it a 6 out of 10. It's fine. It's just like the first year of Batman, and how when he's a bit clumsy.
Is he in kindergarten?
Yes, he's in kindergarten.
Just running around in his little batsuit.
I just remember that in this movie, Bruce Wayne kicks a tree and he kicks the tree down. That's how hard his kick is, and it's like, that would never happen.
Is it a cartoon? It's a cartoon, yeah.
Yeah, it's a cartoon. Yeah.
Oh yeah,
it's a cartoon. It's fine, but it's under average. It's not the best one. And Lockdown, I saw the trailer for that and I was not interested as soon as I saw the first 10 seconds.
That's a genre of film that if it's done right, it could be good, but there are going to be so many poor attempts at it.
Yeah.
It's like those whole films then they're shot through cameras, like Searching, is it?
Yeah.
That's a good film and that's well done. And then you get a film like Spree, I don't know if you've seen it, recently came out on Netflix, where it's kind of the same, it's all filmed through cameras, but he's a taxi driver. And it just doesn't work as well. You're just riding on the gimmick of it rather than actually making a film around it.
This film, Lockdown, is not actually based through Zoom. It's got some Zoom elements to it, but then it comes out and it's actually a proper film. But it's about them being in quarantine and going a bit stir crazy, and then they end up doing a heist in a store or something. Ridiculous.
You've lost me already. I will never give it the time of day now.
The idea of going in lockdown and coming stir crazy and doing something stupid, maybe with a group of friends, people could get on board with that at the moment. But then doing a heist and robbing a bank,
it's a bit like too many elements in this film. No, it didn't need to be a heist
film.
Doesn't
sound good.
Next up here we've got Katie and Oti. They watched the 2021, this is very recent, reboot of Walker starring Jaden Padalecki. I think that's how you say that.
I have no idea how you say that man's name. Don't know who it is.
Well, this is good. They said, why did they make it? Why did we attempt to watch it? How does it end? We didn't finish it, so please let us know how it ends.
We have no idea.
I haven't heard of this, so if anybody else has, then please feel free to let them know how it ends, because I don't think... and also points for you for getting to the end of it, by the sounds of it.
Yes, exactly. I don't know the original, don't know the
remake.
remake.
Where do you reckon people are going to stand on these 2021 films? Like, not these 21 films that are going to be released. Like June, for example, has been pushed back. But all these films that are now going to be shot in this era of really, like, being made under some circumstances. Like, there are going to be some really rough
people will have to be creative as well. There'll be people being creative and people being really lazy.
The new film that's coming out with John David Washington in it, what's it called? About the love story that's coming out on Netflix.
Mary and something.
Yeah, they put the whole cast into the whole cast and crew into quarantine.
Was that filmed in quarantine? Was it?
Yeah, so all the cast and they all stayed in hotels for 2 weeks.
Looks slightly pretentious.
And then made the film when they came out of it.
To quarantine.
That's only getting
No, I mean with the trailer, it just does. Like people were losing their shit on Twitter about
pretentious.
it.
Bring in Tom Cruise.
Yeah, sorry, Katie and Oti, we got nothing to say on that one. But we will have something to say about this. In fact, we've already said it, but Julio, we will endorse your watch because you shout out David Byrne's American Utopia. So he's shouting it out from someone who wouldn't even consider himself a Talking Heads fan. So on that, Adam obviously included it in his top list of 2020. So did I. Revisit our end of year list to hear our thoughts on that. But good shout, Julio. He also finally watched the first season of The Mandalorian. Fun, easy watch. I enjoy it the most in a meta way, getting a kick out of seeing people like Pedro Pascal and Gina Carano playing in the Star Wars sandbox.
I dropped The Mandalorian out like 2 episodes in.
So did I. Yeah, 3 or 4 episodes in.
The second series is really good. Julio, you've got a lot to look forward to there.
It is worth staying with, definitely.
Honestly, like, it's not just a gimmick anymore. They are... I think Julio has described it in a better way than when I tried to describe it to Ben and Paul when I said you don't have to think when you watch it. I meant it's easy watching is the way and the words that I wanted.
You can be lobotomized when you watch it.
Yeah, you can just be asleep and you know what you're doing.
Without spoilers, does Werner Herzog still have a place in season 2?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And is season 2 darker or the same as season 1?
I think it's
a kettle.
It's in a similar path. You're just in the Star Wars world now, and it's going into it will pay off if you. Yeah, there's a lot of paying off now.
I'm not watching that. I'm not watching that.
I wouldn't want you. I'm actually kind of glad you're not watching it, Ben, because you probably won't enjoy it, and then you'll just ruin it for everybody else.
No, I'm sorry.
You'll be miserable about it.
This is what Adam does with WandaVision.
I watched this. I
know, but he doesn't like it, and he watches it.
I watched episode 3, and it did start to lean towards, this is a little bit interesting, but I haven't watched 4.
But
people are getting so excited about it because it's slightly different, but it's a bit of a gimmick.
We're not giving WandaVision any more airtime than necessary. You two, Adam and Jamie, you obviously give more truck to Mandalorian as Star Wars fans, though. So I think you probably have to be quite a Star Wars fan to enjoy it, right? All right, and Jamie, it's over to you. You did write this down for us earlier, but go ahead. Why don't you just shout out the films that you've been watching recently?
Okay. So highlights of my recent viewings have to be Paddleton and Baby Teeth. What a double header.
That is a double header.
Both fantastic films that address difficult themes without going too spoilery, with warmth and good humour. However, wouldn't necessarily recommend as a double bill.
No, I didn't. I'm very impressed you did that as a double bill.
I didn't.
Oh, okay.
I said out. No, I didn't watch them together. No, that would have been insane.
Lockdown's getting to all of us, but I don't think anyone's got to that point.
No, I wouldn't do that. And they're both powerful films.
Very.
There's more humour in Paddleton. I thought that the character relationships are just beautifully portrayed, and it'll be a hard person not to feel at the end of both of those films. That final scene. Whoa.
It's all about that end. I mean, no, it's all about the whole film, but it earns the ending. Ben Mendelsohn's ending. But Paddleton, which I think I watched like 2 years ago now, that introduced me to Mark Duplass as well, who's great in that role. Like Ray Romano suddenly has been dramatic for the last year and a half, and he's been really great. But their relationship in that is so genuine.
Yeah, definitely.
Have you, as a recommendation on the back of your recommendation, it's not, obviously, it's nowhere near like Paddington, but Paul, you've seen him, I know. Have you seen Mark Duplass in a film called Creep?
I liked it. I enjoyed it. It's Creep. I've seen both of them. I mean, he's able to play that sort of that weirdo off kilter kind of character, very well. Yeah. I enjoyed it.
No, that's good. But yeah, Paddleton is
the end of Creep. Yeah, absolutely. It would still be no more than a 4 out of 5 for Creep. Maybe 3.5. But yeah, Paddleton's definitely better.
Paddleton's a Netflix original, isn't it?
Yeah, I think it is.
Yeah, it is.
They have got some stuff in them. Like I always dismiss a Netflix original. Well, I used to. Recently, they've been smacking it out of the park, but that was a couple years ago. So they can show that they can do good stuff.
You got to find them.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, Patreons. We appreciate all those shout outs.
That was very lovely.
Thank you, Jamie.
Oh, thank you.
I won't take any of your recommendations because I've already seen them. So that's endorsement.
Try and give him one more, Jamie, before you go. One more recommendation you don't think he's seen that you can give him.
Mummy. You all have seen this.
Oh, I've seen it. It's very good.
I've seen that, I think. If it's the same Mummy.
Yeah, this is the one with the aspect ratio.
Yes, yeah.
Oh, it's amazing.
Yeah, me and Adam have seen it, not you, Ben.
Oh, what a film.
No, I haven't seen it.
Yeah, it's 4.2 in Letterboxd.
Is it?
Yeah.
It's on Amazon Prime.
Film?
It is. It was on Prime. I don't know if it's on anymore.
What's the film? This?
It was. Mummy.
Oh yeah, the Canadian film.
No, it's French.
It's French, but it's set in Canada, isn't it?
I can't remember the setting.
I always remember it. It's got the guy with the blonde hair on the front of it, hasn't it?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
And it has one sequence of aspect ratio use along with Oasis Wonderwall.
Yes. And that was one of those films I always remember.
Yeah, it's brilliant.
Because they do the... and I immediately, every time you hear that sound, you will immediately, my head will go to Wonderwall. And I started singing it, and then Wonderwall kicked in. And I was like, yeah.
With that scene, I literally just went, yes! It was just
All right, I'm going to watch it. I'm
Fantastic.
going to watch it then.
Okay.
I like it.
There we go.
We'll take that. All right, Mummy is the recommendation that I take from you.
I'll be really intrigued. And the ending as well. The ending is a good ending. Yeah.
Yeah. I can back that one.
I'm surprised you only gave it a 4, Paul.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good.
It's good.
It was
It's
no
good.
burn after
8 out of
reading
10.
for him.
I'm surprised you gave Burn After Reading 8 out of 10.
So there you go. I managed one.
You did it. You did it. You beat him.
Give that a go. I'm intrigued to see what you think about that.
All right, Mummy it is. Mummy it is.
Good stuff.
Right, if you would like to become a patron, we're gonna lead on. We've already recorded actually our monthly roundup. You can go and become a patron. You can send your recommendations to us too. You can become a patron just like Jamie Russell. That's at www.patreon.com/filmbusters.
Across the streams.
Yes. And for those patrons who are with us after this episode ends, you can jump onto our Patreon page and you can see us all in the flesh on video as we discuss
our lockdown haircut.
monthly highlights. Lockdown haircuts, short and...
I eat some popcorn.
And you can see what we recommend.
We talk about popcorn and what else do we talk about? Films.
The films that we've watched in the past month. The best and the worst. Yeah, and Paul does a really bad edit job at the beginning, or maybe it was a really good edit job. We won't find out until it goes into that part of things. So I believe there's two things left to do.
Yeah.
The first thing is most certainly to thank Jamie for joining us today.
Yes. Thank you, Jamie.
It has been a pleasure and a privilege for you to join us to talk about Burn After Reading.
So bloody good.
The feeling is mutual. It's been great. Thank you.
I feel like we had a good, even discussion on things.
Yeah, I think so.
There was no like one side shouting down the other.
Yeah, we weren't ganging up on Paul, were we?
No. And Jamie will be joining us again in 6 months' time for another episode. So,
and I guess that leads on to my pick for next episode.
Yes, the next episode.
Ooh.
We've gone full circle and back to Paul's.
Ooh, it's my
choice.
turn. Are you
it's
ready?
your turn. I almost feel like this was a you pick, and it feels like we're going to another you pick.
I know.
In a way. You've been spoilt, sir.
Well, I think you might like this pick, Ben.
I've got a sneak preview.
I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, you are. Get the sneak preview. The
let
next
me
episode.
big this
You
up.
can't go spoiling this on. You can't go spoiling this on Twitter, Jamie, before it gets released.
I won't.
You're trusted here. We have to make you sign a declaration form.
Oh, the power. The power.
This is very interesting. Okay, so Ben, you've seen it.
Yes.
Adam and Jamie, you have not seen it apparently, according to Letterboxd.
Okay.
It is by a director we've done once before. His name is Lars von Trier.
Lars von
Is it
Trier.
Antichrist?
And it's Antichrist.
Oh my god! I looked at this the other day, and it came up on my letterbox for some reason, and I thought, oh, look at this film. And I think I can remember your 2 ratings of it, but it's going to be interesting. Fuck me.
Well.
Yeah.
All right, I'm not going to say anything, obviously.
No.
You love these. You picked Martyrs, Antichrist, and a Serbian film.
Yeah, Paul has picked these.
You're a bit hardcore.
Yes.
That is proper hardcore horror.
Because I don't think people talk about them enough. So I want to put them out there, and I think it's fun to talk about the extreme shit.
Absolutely.
And you're right. It's better to pick the films that don't get the love, that push the boundaries, that people want to hear episodes
Exactly.
of. Serbian film, of course. Like people, I'm sure there are people who've done it, but Serbian film, if you find out someone's done something on Serbian film, you want to check it out because it's so extreme. It's like, whoa, that's hot property.
Yeah.
No one really touches that.
Right, so yeah, that's exciting. Can't wait to talk about that film. It's going to be very fun for you, Adam.
I know.
I hopefully Jamie can get a view in and see it before we talk about it. Hopefully, if you can stand it.
Okay.
But before then, we'll either see you on the Patreon or we'll see you next time. Thank you so much, Jamie. It's been a pleasure.
A-Town.
Thank you so much, guys. Thank you.
Cheers, Jamie. See you next time, everyone.
Duel Busters.